I really want to share this. If you can keep your motivation up, do it. Keep doing it. I'll tell you what, Passage to Profit, we don't have a lot of listeners and download. I mean, we have a lot, but not as many as some people. But we've been doing it for 6.5 years. So we are one of the top 3% podcasts per Listen Notes. And we also got named one of the top 10 entrepreneur podcasts to be interviewed on by FeedSpot. And part of that is just the longevity of just doing it every week. So you don't have to do it every week. Every week is ideal. Do it every 2 weeks. But don't give up. Don't get discouraged. Keep doing it. And I think one thing that I think we need as podcasters to explain to listeners in general is the difference between downloading an episode and listening to an episode. People don't, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because people don't realize if you download it, you can listen to it anytime without the internet and you're not using data. But I think people just go listen, they don't download. And a lot of people really count is the downloads. The other thing, I've done tons of research into this. I know everybody wants to monetize, but you have to get the downloads to show that you can monetize, and maybe you want to get sponsors and they want to see that people are listening. If you have advertising dollars to spend, the very best place to spend them is on other podcasts. The reason being, you need to do social media, obviously, but if people are on social media, they're not necessarily going to come off social media to go listen to a podcast, right? If they're on another podcast, especially like if they're on a long road trip or something, and they hear an ad for a podcast that sounds interesting, you're more likely that they'll listen to it. Yeah. So
I always say, Elizabeth, that 100% of the listeners of that podcast that you're advertising on listen to podcasts.
Yes.
And we don't know if we're on Facebook ads or Google ads or YouTube ads. We don't know what is the amount of people that listen to podcasts in this platform. I'm going to send letters to everybody's house. How many of those do we know listen to podcasts? We're not all the way sure. But if we put those dollars, like you said, to be featured on other people's shows, we already know that it's not swimming upstream for them to check you out.
Right. And I guess the other thing, so I host a meetup with Stacey Sherman. We co-host a meetup. And last night, the meetup was, she and I talked about the 10 steps you need to do to start a podcast. So this is really fresh in my mind. The other thing is you do have to make sure your audio is really good. And so, I mean, I'm using expensive equipment because, this was for the radio during COVID. So we bought these like $400 or $500 microphones. You can get a good mic that plugs into your computer, but you need to test it. I've tested so many cheap mics and none of them sound good. There are some that are better. I don't know if you have a favorite mic that you use, Adam.
Yeah. The Shure SM7B, I think, is the one you are using. Is that right?
Yes.
The same one Michael Jackson recorded Thriller on. It's a phenomenal mic. And absolutely, we have a little resource. It's called, it's a PDF that we put together where it's just equipment that we've personally vetted. And just a side note, the microphone that everybody will find when you just type in, what's a good podcast mic? It's called the Blue Yeti. It is definitely not on there. That's a condenser microphone, and it doesn't sound nearly as clear as what Elizabeth's using or what I'm using right now. It sounds very echoey. You can hear the room noise. You can hear the people walking by, the dogs barking, all of that stuff just comes right into that mic easily when you rustle in your chair or change position or posture. You will hear that. And so to answer your question, Elizabeth, yes, there are 5 that we've recommended. The one you're using is the top one. It's the most expensive one that we recommend. It's about $500, like you said, $450. It just depends where you get it. And the bottom one is like $16. $16 is not the best mic, but it sounds way better than a $120 Blue Yeti. Way better. And then we also have a $69 Samsung Q2U that's on there. We have a $99 ATR 2100X that's on there. And then we have the $250 one that I'm using right now. That's a Shure brand like yours. It's the Shure MV7. Those 5 podcast microphones are on that site. And we just feel so strongly that if you don't get one of those 5, you're going to spend more than you need and probably get less quality than you want. So that's a thing that I'm passionate about. I love that you brought up with, I think it was your 10 steps of launching a podcast that you did with, is it Stacy Sherman? Did I say the name right?
Yes.
Yeah, your meetup group. And I agree with you. Podcast mic, a decent mic is important. I think that's one of the foundations of making sure that you're not going to turn off a listener.